Hello, this is my favorite part. This is when people start jumping into the attendees section and I get to peek at them and see who the people are and see as they're joining.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, everyone. We'll be starting in about 1 minute with Stella Grizont. So Stella, I'll ask you questions for those 20 minutes and then sometimes people pop in with Q&A in the middle, but they'll usually do Q&A in the last 10 minutes after the formal part of the call.
Okay, great. So I'll have my chat up just in case.
Perfect. Okay, great. Hello, everybody. We'll be starting in about 30 seconds as you all are joining the call.
I miss doing these with you, Senya.
I know, right? We haven't done this in a long time. Okay, welcome to everybody here on Zoom and on Facebook. We're delighted to have you here with us with Stella Grizont. Stella is one of our coaches at Silicon Valley Change, and she's also a close friend, and I've known Stella for a long, long time. And she is, I mentioned this previously about one of our coaches, but we have 83 coaches, and there are 2 that we call on to do executive presence, and Stella is one of them. So when our clients, VMware and Logitech and so on, say, hey, how do I present? How do I stay sane while I'm presenting? We bring in Stella. So hello, Stella. Delighted to be here with you.
Now I'm questioning wearing this sweater after that introduction.
I question everything I always have on for these presentations.
Well, thank you for having me.
Our pleasure. So today the format will be that I'll ask Stella questions for about 20 minutes and then we invite you to ask questions. The formal part is the first 20 minutes, so you get some quick tips, and then we invite you to do almost like self-coaching with Stella by asking questions at the end. So welcome, everybody. Hello.
Hi, everyone. Wow.
So first question for you, Stella. As you are coaching these days, as you're doing your one-on-one coaching, what are the main things that you're hearing and seeing your clients say to you about what's on their mind? What are their concerns? What are their thoughts?
It's really all over the place. I mean, we have some folks who are just doing just fine and plugging along. They can work remotely. We have other folks who are just struggling with children and how to find a new normal and how to homeschool, and having all sorts of inner conflict around how to be a parent and continue to work at a standard you're used to. Any hands go up for that? My hand is going up for that. And then I'm also dealing with folks who are having to furlough or lay off employees. So I think it's all over the place. And of course, I'm sure many people at this point on the call already know someone who has had COVID or has COVID, or unfortunately who's lost someone. So there's dealing with grief and worry and anxiety. So it's kind of been all over the place, to be honest. Yeah.
So it sounds like some things about working and continuing work, some things about balancing home and work, and some things about dealing with this big thing that's out there, depending on how it's impacting people directly, whether through people they know directly or just the anxiety of the news and what's going on.
Yeah.
What are you using as some of the tools that you bring to your clients in these times? How do you recommend that people stay, as you say, stay sane and resilient in the midst of all of this?
Yeah, so when you find yourself spinning out of control and catastrophizing on the worst possible things that could happen, school's not opening for a very long time, or God forbid, folks getting sick, or losing your job, whatever that worry or concern is, what I remind my clients to do is just to state, what are 3 things that are true right now in this moment that are comforting? So just coming right back here. So right now, I'm on Zoom with Senya, and I'm healthy, and Senya looks healthy, and we have folks here who are here. We have internet, right? I have food in the fridge. I have a job right now. So just to focus on right here and right now. And when I do that with folks, they immediately start to notice a shift in, in their bodies, feeling lightness. So I'm wondering if even folks on the line right now, like if you could give that a shot. I don't know, if you want participation or not, Senya?
Yeah, please.
Like,
We'd love it. Go ahead. Go ahead.
okay. Like, so for everyone on the line right now, if you can join us in the chat, I'm not looking at the Facebook Live, but I can see in Zoom, like what is true for you right now that you find comforting? And while we wait for those, I'll share another tip that I do with folks. The other thing is I remind them to track their small wins. So it's so easy, especially if your schedule has been thrown off. A lot of people are finding themselves in more meetings than they used to be because there's no longer that informal hallway conversation. So now that we're in more Zoom meetings glued to the computer, it almost feels like there's less time to do work. So if you're feeling like you're not as productive as you used to be, and you're happen to be taking care of people, or you're just feeling very lonely at home, it's easy to just feel like not enough. And so tracking what small wins you're making really helps build a sense of control. And we know control, having a sense of mastery, is one of the big drivers to resilience. So if you can, I do this at the end of the day, but I just decided I can't wait till the end of the day. I have to be doing this the whole day. And I just like keep reminding myself of my small wins. So I'm like, okay, I had a great coaching client, a great coaching call, check. I spent 15 minutes outside with my daughter and we played tag, check. Like, we had a good lunch, check. I put on, something other than like my pajamas, check. So really just tracking your small wins will make you feel like you're being productive, having a sense of control in very uncontrollable, uncertain times.
We're already getting a few questions. So one person asks on the Facebook group, what is the best tool to track small wins? I'm not sure if they're referring to just for themselves to track small wins, but just to kind of see, hey, I'm actually doing this.
I mean, I will just write it down in a journal. So if, or on a phone, or I'll just do it in my head. So whatever works for you. If it's helpful, I think writing it down is always nice, and you can review it, and then you can review your week, and you can say, wow, man, I've done a pretty damn good job. Like, I'm doing really well here, and I can't believe all the stuff I got done.
You know what this reminds me of, Stella? When we do coaching, you know this, I know this, but for our listeners and viewers, when we do coaching at the end of a coaching session, we'll ask people, what is your career action? What do you want to do moving forward? Is it speaking with your manager? Is it speaking to your direct team in a different way? And then we always ask, what's your body action? So what are you going to do on sleep, food, exercise, or meditation? And I feel like these small wins that you're talking about, it's a little bit like what we ask people for in their, what are you doing on sleep? Because they can track that. Even if they haven't had that serious conversation with their boss, they can track if they went to bed at 11. They can track if they did 5 push-ups in the morning, just whatever it is.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then, I take it a step further with my clients when we're very clear on their values. Then you can also ask yourself a values-based question, like, how did I express my creativity today? How did I take care of my team today? Like, whatever your values are, that really elevates it to the next level, because then you're aligning your actions with what is most important to you. So,
I think you're actually getting into what the same person who asked, what are the best tools to track that? They're following up with, and for the company and the team, how do you celebrate them? So it's kind of hard when you're in a Zoom meeting, which we are all in, and you just get down to the task. You're there and you immediately say, all right, what are we doing? What is working? What's not working? Let's get to the project. But how do you celebrate them in a way? I'll actually add for this person, in a way that's not cheesy. So in a way that doesn't seem like you become,
awkward. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, I think it might be still a little uncomfortable, but I just, once it becomes a habit, it's no longer uncomfortable. But I would say start off your calls that way. People are starving for moments of reflection, pause, restoration, a stretch, especially if you're on nonstop Zoom calls. So I actually think it might be welcome. And if you just say, hey, let's take a second, go around, share one thing you want to celebrate, one thing you're grateful for, someone you want to give a shout out to who did a great job, just do one thing. I think that's a great way to start a call or end a call. And it really raises the energy. And, you know, Senya, you and I know that the importance of having positive emotions in teams, we know amplifies productivity by 31%, right? It helps accuracy, it helps engagement, and really we know it also helps your immunity. So that's also really important. So anything you can do.
And I think it's really funny because you don't have to tell people that you're doing positive emotion, and you don't have to tell them this is good for you, for us to actually go around and say, so it's in a sense, it's something subtle that you can try with people.
Totally. You don't have to say this is a positive psychology tool. You could just be like, hey, we're in really tough times. Give me some good news, right? Like, let's go around and share some good news.
Nice. All right, so switching gears a little bit. Stella, if you had one suggestion for everybody on this call for one action that they can take after this call, so they're done, let's say it's 11:20 Pacific and people go back to their work, what is one thing that they should do today and for future days after this that really can help them with resilience, with sanity, with their own, just them being the best that they can in these stressful times?
Oh, just one is hard, Senya. But
I know, that's why I'm putting you on the spot. Exactly.
Oh, okay. Well, okay. Just one is gratitude, right? So just what we talked about. So amplifying that in your team, amplifying that for yourself, because we know that I call gratitude the gateway emotion because it opens up the doors to other good things to come in. And so when you are catastrophizing, when you are feeling extremely anxious, when you are feeling like not enough, gratitude really helps give you some new perspective. But if you want more than just one, I can also share like some others.
Okay, but we'll know at the end of the call. Stella says, do gratitude either with your colleagues or with your family or with your work teams or by yourself, write it down, but do sort of observe what is working so that you're not constantly thinking about the things that aren't.
Exactly. That's so beautifully said. And then the other thing I would say is to have self-compassion, right? Because it's so easy to start being critical of yourself, saying, I'm not doing enough, or I'm not being enough in this part, or my house is a mess, like whatever it is that you're worried about. If you haven't quite figured out your schedule, or if you're not tending to all your team members in the way that you want, just to give yourself a little compassion and say, hey, I'm still figuring this out. This is all new. We're in a pandemic. And of course I feel scattered, frustrated, sad. That's like just to normalize your feelings, accept your feelings, label your feelings, and then to say to yourself, every day I'm going to figure out and learn how to be better at this. I'm learning. And that's true for all of us. We've never done this before.
I think what you're saying is so true. Sometimes we think that we're venting or we're just letting out our emotions to somebody who asks, how are you? But that serves a role too, because once we've said it, sometimes it just decreases. It's like a weight off your shoulders once you've said, this is hard, or that's hard, or this is frustrating.
Yeah, and one other thing, sorry, like this is, I can't.
Stella, like, we're here on this call because of tools from you, so keep throwing them at us. Keep going.
One thing I noticed when people would ask me, how are you? And especially in the first few weeks, there's always like, right? We always have a sigh, and then we're like, and it is hard, right? But my friend Christine, who I would work with, she suggested to say fortunately. And so now when someone asks me how I am, I always lead with fortunately. I don't ignore that it's hard, but I'm like, fortunately we're healthy, and fortunately we have food, right? And then, you know, if I want to share, it's also hard, and I do go into it, and I'm honest about that. But we just to keep in mind the good stuff, because that sends the conversation into a different trajectory. And, you know, our emotions are contagious. And so it might actually be of great service to offer that perspective to someone who might be in a fragile state.
I've just posted to everyone on this call some of the terms that you've been using, like being present and I'm glad this is happening. I wrote it with a typo, but people know what I mean. And this is okay too, and fortunately. And I think it's just as an observation, I think it's neat that you're saying here are ways you can speak to yourself. I'm a subscriber to your newsletter, and some of the most fun ones that I read, and I've told you this, is when you have a discussion with yourself in your head, in your newsletter. So you say, okay, and then I was feeling lousy, and I said to myself, Stella, and then I said, no, that's not gonna work. I still feel lousy. And then I said to myself, okay, how about this? So those kind of your self-thoughts are very engaging to read. And I hear you to us saying, try this as a self-thought, try fortunately, or try, yes, this is lousy. And also, I'm glad this is happening.
Yes, I do a lot of talking to myself. But one other thing, if you guys want more, when you feel you're feeling burdened and you find yourself saying, oh, I'm sure you guys know this one already. I have to go and take out the garbage, or I have to wash the dishes for the third time today. Instead of I have to, I get to. Oh my God, I get to take out the garbage. Thank God there's people who are still cleaning up the city. Or I get to wash the dishes for the third time. Thank God I have food to eat, right? So that's another one I've been using a lot. And then the other one is if you're feeling dread, like, oh my God, this is gonna suck. I always, if I find myself judging an experience, I will say, well, I wonder how I will be surprised. I wonder how I will be surprised. So instead of dread, injecting some curiosity.
Yeah, and so again, one of the, I can't spell surprise at the same time that I was speaking with you.
I can't believe you're typing at the same time.
Again, one of the things is you just told me express curiosity, but you've also said this is how you can do it for yourself. You can say, I wonder how I will be surprised. And I'm mentioning that to people on our call who may be just joining in because they want to know more about work remote strategies. And so you're saying, here's how you can talk with yourself. And sometimes just hearing a positive psychology word like express curiosity, that doesn't quite work for me because, okay, I'm curious. What does that even mean? But I wonder how I'll be surprised. Or I wonder how this will be new to me. Just those kinds of things. They work better for me. They're more practical.
Yeah, totally. Like I need scripts for how to talk to myself.
That's Stella's next book, Scripts for How to Talk to Myself.
I actually was just thinking that as you were like talking about my newsletter. I was like, maybe that is the book idea.
Do you know this? It's a health book. And we'll have one more question for the planned part, and then we'll invite you to ask questions. Do you know that book, Don't Eat This, Eat That? Like, don't eat the hamburger, eat the turkey burger.
Oh, yeah.
And it's all in images. It's all in pictures. So I can see you, don't say this, say that, like that kind of thing. The Stella version. Okay, our last question. I actually have to go to it because I wrote it down. Oh, Stella, you talk about to stay sane and resilient. Please keep in mind things that you're doing with your time and with your mind. What do you mean by that distinction?
Well, I think I'm trying to remember when I said that, but so one of the things that right now we're all feeling, I think, generally a little bit more scattered and unfocused. And we know that 51% of the time that we're doing something, we're thinking about something else in normal circumstances in a non-pandemic world. And so what we're finding is that now, and emotions are a big driver for distraction. So emotions are even higher right now. And so it's really important to manage your mind if you want to better manage your time. So if you want to feel like more in control of your schedule, if you want to feel more in control of your boundaries, it has to start with an awareness of what's going on for you inside your head. And so I think that's what I meant. But I would say, there's a lot of great tips on how to organize your office and how to set a schedule, but none of that matters if you can't really manage your mind and your mood. And it's not about you're not feeling negative emotions, but it's about how you're healthfully dealing with them and supporting yourself and doing things like the self-compassion or labeling the emotion or giving yourself routes for other ways of looking at things. Does that help?
It does, because what you're saying is listen to yourself to both
Yeah.
ways, both
Yeah.
getting productive and actually getting your work done. But if it's weird, if it's not working, how can you change even the self-talk to get yourself to the
Yeah.
place where you can start being productive?
Yeah, I think it's, it starts from, within, and like, listen, like, for example, I set a beautiful schedule the first week of the pandemic, and
Yeah, how did that work?
didn't work, right? I'm still figuring it out. And I was just talking to my therapist. I was like, I have to figure it out. She's like, you're still figuring it out. I was like, okay, thank you for acknowledging that. So I hire someone to help me with the self-compassion, but
Nice,
yeah.
nice.
Uh,
So we have completed the formal part in which we've heard about being present in the moment, about I'm glad this is happening, starting a sentence with fortunately. I get to do something like take out the trash. I wonder how I'll be surprised in this kind of situation. So we're going to close the formal part, and then just please know that you can ask questions like getting coaching with Stella. You can ask them in the chat, and I will ask them, read them out loud here or in the Q&A. Stella, thank you so much for the formal part. We've been really delighted to have you with us. Thank you.
it's been so fun.
Thank you. Okay, so questions from the group. Please type in any questions that you have into the chat or into the Q&A, and we will ask Stella directly. You can ask her about what you should do in working remotely from home, things she has tried, whether you agree or don't agree with these things that she suggested. And finally, something that we usually ask near the end of the call is, what tip from what Stella has said are you going to walk away and try? What are you going to experiment with of the things you've heard today? And as people are typing in their questions, I'm going to ask you one of mine. What is something that you've done yourself during this period that you're pretty proud of, that you're kind of like patting yourself on the back and, hey, I found a hack, or I found a thing that really works for me, or me and my work, or me and my family?
Well, so this is a little unrelated. I mean, I've done things for myself, but I actually think the thing that I'm most proud of is that, and I want to talk to you about this, Senya, is launching an effort called the Hero Hotline to support frontline healthcare workers. So I'm with all my colleagues, we're getting together to provide coaching for frontline healthcare workers. And that actually feels like a way that I'm able to do something and contribute. And so that's felt very meaningful. It's totally made me way busy and added a little bit to the anxiety, but the meaning is worth it. So
Well, then I'll just add in to provide free
it's
coaching
free, right?
by
It's really
coaches who are experienced coaches to frontline workers. Yeah.
right. Excellent
Yeah.
coaches for free. So we're getting it out there. So if there's any coaches listening who are interested, you can go to theherohotline.com/volunteer, and it will take you through an application process.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a big thing. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm excited about that.
So here are some things that we're hearing. We're hearing people say that the fortunately is surprising to them, that they haven't heard it. We're also hearing people say that this is okay too, feels like that's a good thing to try to do, that it's hard. Here's another thing that I'm reading from two different screens. This person definitely plans to start all conversations with, fortunately, so simple and effective.
Awesome. Love
Yeah.
it. I'm glad that worked. Yeah, those those are great little tricks, and they can really kind of elevate the mood, and it's a good start.
And so one question, and this might be our last question unless we have another one pop in. What if somebody is just not in the mood? They're trying, and they try fortunately, and they try I get to, but they just, and we have those times of the day, or even those days where yesterday might have been productive and you're on and things are fine with the family, and then today is just, what do we do in those times?
Well, I have those too, and I fake gratitude all the time is what I tell people. So I will start it and I'll be like, I don't feel like doing this. I feel really grumpy. I know I have so much to be grateful for, but I'm not feeling it. And like, just, you want to stay in bed. And so I will fake gratitude until I feel like I've taken an elevator from my head into my heart. And so it's kind of like in high school, I don't know if they do this anymore. Remember those like free writing classes where you had to like, you couldn't put your pen down. So I'll do that either mentally or with a pen of like what I'm grateful for. Not to sound repetitive, but gratitude works. But also I will just have some self-compassion, and I will remind myself of, you know, this isn't permanent. Today is a crappy day. Tomorrow may be better. This isn't pervasive, right? So there's other aspects of my life that aren't being touched by this right now that are still going well. And this isn't personal. Like, we're in a pandemic. It might not be me. It might be this situation we're in. And that's learned optimism from Martin Seligman. So that's a nice one to use in those moments.
So just even when it's bad, you're saying, look, I know it's bad and I get it. And I just giving yourself a tweak of, it's not everywhere. It's not all the time. This
and
might
it's not
change.
me.
Yeah.
It's not like there's something wrong with me. It's like and also I always tell people, remember the basics. Like, have you had enough sleep? Are you hangry? Like, have you had your water? Have you moved your body? Like, maybe it's just taking a shower. So it might be just a simple thing.
Try something small.
Yeah.
Wonderful. I'll give you two last comments that people are saying, and then we'll be coming to an end. People are saying they're taking away, if you want to manage your time, manage your mind and mood. And another person, thank you to this person, and I actually recognize the name because they've been on a few of these. This person's grateful to learn work from home strategies by coming every day. So thank you for saying that. And you are actually a great prompt to us, for me to tell you, oh, somebody said taking a nap is a good thing, smiley face. That's an excellent prompt to tell you that tomorrow we have this again. And we're doing this every day at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern for 20-minute quick things for you. Thank you so much, Stella. Thank you so very much.
My pleasure.
All the best, everyone. See you tomorrow.
Bye.